My face popped in there.
Go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Tate Wikuwa book club, where we will be discussing In the Spirit of Crazy Horse by Peter Matheson's chapter 7. Tonight, we have a special guest. Her name is Jean Roach, and she is from the Mini Kanju Nation of the Cheyenne River Sioux tribe. And at 14 years old, she was present at the firefight on Pine Ridge Reservation on June 26, 1975. Welcome, Jean. And we also have Paul and Virginia Berg. He's the author of Sandra's Hands, and a surprise guest this evening. Welcome to you also. Welcome, everybody.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Okay, so I was talking with JoJo. She's a federal lawyer who is also on the defense committee with Jean about COINTELPRO and the things that led up to the firefight. And I think it's really important for us to have an understanding of the atmosphere and the things that were happening. It wasn't just like the FBI came there, and I mean, there was a reason why Leonard Peltier was there. And maybe if Jean, could you elaborate a little bit on that? I know you were young, but I think it's important for us to.
Yeah, of course. You say Mini Koju, that's a tribe I'm from. I'm from the Cheyenne River Sioux tribe in South Dakota. But this happened in Oglala, at the Oglala Sioux tribe. Basically, the American Indian movement became one of the many groups that were targeted during the civil rights era. And what they used a program called COINTELPRO, which targeted certain leadership within the organizations. And it also sent in undercover people to what would you call it?
They infiltrated.
Totally just start fights. What was that?
They infiltrated.
Yeah, infiltrate. There you go. That's the best word. And so, like the whole atmosphere is like not too much different from today. We had a lot of racism. For me, it started in Rapid City with where we lived at, and my mother was a victim of a bar owner assaulting her. So that's about 12. So the American Indian movement came to Rapid City, and they had these big meetings. They're establishing an office here to address the racism and whatever's been happening, all kinds of different stuff. So we went to these meetings, and they had it along the creek over there called the Mother Butler Center. There, people were coming from all over, and they're testifying about what was going on. And one of the people that came there was Sarah Badhart, and told her story about her son being murdered in Buffalo Gap, South Dakota, where he was murdered and left to die without medical care. So, and the people that did it were not charged. They got away with murder. So she asked AIM for help because she couldn't get no help nowhere. So that was what the American Indian movement was known for, is a spiritual side and plus addressing racism. So that's kind of where the beginning started for us. I know Alcatraz is actually the original spot where a lot of the AIM people began their different fights. But in Oglala, when we were staying there, which was in 1975, 2 years after Wounded Knee. So let me go back to the Custer. That was 72. Oh wait, no, 72. And then Wounded Knee was in 1973. And where they had the 71-day standoff in Wounded Knee with the American Indian movement and United States government and the tribe. At that time, the tribe was really puppets, basically, more of the government than they are now. But they had a collusion with the feds. They were providing them with automatic weapons, APCs, all kinds of intelligence to fight the AIM people that took over Wounded Knee, which we only had I wasn't there, but my friends were, like 22s, deer rifles, stuff like that. Nowhere near the technology, but that's when they first started infiltrating. They sent in undercover inside Wounded Knee to just mess it all up. They just start, fights. The rumors, we all heard about the different rumors that went around. People were being accused of being informants. And that's where the anime story starts out too.
Yeah.
So then
I knew
anyway,
that.
1975, we were in Oglala. And basically what we're doing there, well, the older ones, we were part of it, was organizing the community to pull away their district from the main village of Pine Ridge, where Dick Wilson, the main goon that had the goon squad of the Wounded Knee. So what we were doing is organizing a community, basically, the stuff of survival, building gardens, security, sweat lodges, cooking, just having fun, riding horses, stuff like that, until we were attacked on that day. Basically, they sent in FBI agents with warrants looking for cowboy boots. And how many times has that ever happened? I mean, that's not even a top 10 crime
Yeah.
to be sending a Fed in.
Yeah.
And they sent them into an area
Used cowboy
that they-
boots, no less.
Yeah, probably, I guess, they took them off somebody's feet. Yeah. So anyway, basically, when they came in there, they sent their agents into an area that they had already been monitoring. They drawn through discovery. We found maps were found inside of the Fed's cars of the whole Jumping Bull area. And at one of the points there, they had said that they were the root cellars were bunkers. I mean, they just used the whole colonized approach of reducing us to the stereotypes of, the same old stereotypes, drugs, whatever. But at that time, whenever they came into the camping area, people didn't know who they were. They were in unmarked cars. They didn't come in, like a police unit. So nobody knew who they were. And the whole climate of that time was the law of the gun, basically. So everybody had to have a gun. A lot of people, there was over 60 people between 75 and 73 that were murdered, which is called the Reign of Terror. All these people, their murders have never been investigated, or have they ever investigated Joe Stunt, who was also murdered on the day, the shootout, the same time as the agents. So there's a lot of questions there, and the whole process, I mean, it's been one big lie after another. Basically, when they took me before the grand jury, they violated my rights. After they caught up to me, they wanted to know what me and my little brother knew about, and he was 11 then, and I was 15 by then. They dragged us into the federal building after they raided our home without a warrant. Well, they came up with it later, but anyway, when I went before the grand jury, they violated my rights, not let me speak to my lawyer. They wouldn't let me go out because my lawyer told me after every question, you're allowed to come out and talk to me. So I wouldn't answer their questions, but in the end, I knew that they didn't believe in their own law. They don't believe in their own constitution. They rewrite the law every time, So they wouldn't let me leave that room. They had to let my brother go because they had him all handcuffed. But he's only 11 years old, and people, man, they got mad. But we were lucky we had Ted Means came to our home and they were raiding us. So they came down with lawyers. So we had other lawyers too. Basically, I told them I wasn't at the shootout. I was in Pine Ridge at the hospital. They let me go. But the whole, the way they conducted themselves, even after the shootout, breaking into homes, they didn't have warrants. They didn't have nothing. They're just basically going an eye for an eye. They wanted, something to happen. They wanted things to happen. God, my mind went blank. I'm sorry, you guys.
It's been one constitutional violation after another.
Huh?
It's been
And
one
a tree log.
constitutional violation after another. They pretty much tore up the Constitution.
Oh, yeah, well, that too, and then we have a treaty, you know, we have a treaty written in
Larry.
1851, yeah, and the 1868 one. And they,
What Larry-
that was, yeah, that was one of the things that we still stand on for our land right now.
Yeah,
But, you know, not only or violations during that time that they did, you know, they didn't ever investigate Joe Stunt's murder. They basically, that's when they started, I went to the Butler and Robidoux trial, and all the misconduct that was created by the FBI after the shootouts, and even before or after Wounded Knee,
yeah.
that was evidence that was used during the Wounded Knee trials. And also during Butler and Robidoux's trials, they presented that as their defense. Okay, so when Peltier was extradited, you know, that was a whole violation of international law.
Yeah,
They went into Canada with falsified documents, and Canada basically told them that they were not gonna extradite Leonard unless they had an eyewitness. And so somehow they found an eyewitness, and we found out who it was. Everybody's like, "Who is this woman?" You know, nobody never heard of her. Leonard never met her in his life.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like,
And
It was-
interestingly enough, they had used her, we had talked about this before in another, as a witness in a previous murder case. And that was just like, and what are the chances of that? It's just made up BS, you know?
She was a
Can you hear
stooge.
me?
Robert Pilot from Native Roots Radio has joined us, as has
Welcome.
Cool.
Jojo.
Welcome,
Colin,
Jojo.
Virginia, what's your take on this whole thing?
Are you talking to me, Dawn?
I welcomed you.
Oh,
And
okay.
Colin Virginia Berger here. He was a teacher on the reservation at the time, walking a
Wonderful.
very
Nice to meet
fine
you.
line. What's
Okay.
your take on this whole thing?
Well, everything that's been said is totally accurate. The FBI was operating well beyond the law. I was at the time particularly unimpressed by the young FBI agents. I'd done two deployments during the Vietnam War. All these young FBI agents had deferments. They were lawyers or CPAs. They had very little practical knowledge, very poorly trained tactically, extremely arrogant. One of the unusual things is they had a very great difficulty recognizing different young Native male. The women, girls, they identify by sexual characteristics,
Yeah,
but the young Native men all look the same to them because they were so used to living in a, I think because they were so used to living in a Caucasian world. So they had terrible.
Melatonin starts environment.
you
Yeah,
said
they-
in your book at one point that one of the FBI guys asked you, what's their problem? Why can't they just be Americans?
Well,
Duh.
The figures.
ignorance.
can you
Yeah,
put a name in
figures.
your book in the chat so I could check your book out later?
I'll put it in there.
All right,
Sandra's
thank you.
hands.
Welcome, Julia. Julia Fight just joined us. She is also on the Leonard Peltier Defense Committee. Welcome.
Sir, the teacher, what is your name, sir?
My
The-
His
name?
name is
yes.
Paul Berg in Virginia
Berg.
Berg.
And Virginia, nice to meet you. I'm Jojo. May I ask you something, sir?
Jojo's here.
When this was going on, do you think maybe they were a little bit, you mentioned they were arrogant. I find that interesting. Because I wonder if they were so arrogant because they knew they recovered by this COINTELPRO program. That AIM had been, you know, that the director, the associate director Felt had put AIM into the COINTEL program at that point, which was supposed to be eliminated in 1975, but they still had it going on AIM. And I wonder if they weren't so arrogant and didn't follow all the rules because they knew they recovered. You know what I mean?
That's probably exactly why they did it.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
find it interesting that within 10 minutes of the first shot being fired, the entire reservation was surrounded.
Yeah.
Helicopters, tactical teams, that doesn't happen out of
Total set.
nowhere.
On a
That was
whim, yeah.
planned. That was
Is it
planned.
interesting if a woman goes missing, how many weeks it takes to get a federal agent out there? But if,
Exactly.
yeah, but something like this, they were already there or nearby? Right, Mr. Berg, is that how it was?
Well, no, there
Or
was several
Jean?
days before helicopters arrived, as I remember. But I do remember the helicopters arriving, but it was a day or two after the shooting, as I
Yeah,
recall.
okay.
there was none on the day, only an airplane.
Oh, airplanes, okay.
Yeah.
Jean,
I
how,
never seen
may
it.
I ask how long it was before agents showed up, other agents, other than the two gentlemen that
Within an hour.
got killed?
Within an
Within
hour.
an
Yeah.
hour.
I'm
And how,
not sure exactly.
I've been to Pine Ridge. It's quite a distance from the nearest city.
It's like about an hour and a half to Rapid.
Yeah,
And that's where the feds had to come from.
isn't that interesting?
Yeah,
Yeah, they did not like, what I got out of this whole thing more than anything else is those guys could have gotten away. They came there to protect the elders and the women and the children. When the shooting started, that was their focus, get the women, the kids, and the elders out. If they would have ran, they would have gotten away, but they waited until everybody was safe. That's why Joe took a
Yep.
bullet. And that's why they were able to grab Leonard and his co-defendants.
Hmm.
May I add something to that?
Yeah,
Um, the FBI was providing arms and ammunition to the
the goon
the
squad.
the goon squad.
goons.
And the drive-by
Yep.
shootings were a common occurrence at that time. The reservation was hunted down. People
That's such a tradition.
were afraid. I mean, law and
Yeah.
order broken down. The FBI was supposedly responsible for law and order, but they were basically supporting the goon squad. It was bizarre.
Yeah, exactly.
Mr. Berg, Mrs. Berg, you were living there then. How many people? I've only been out there 3 or 4 times in the last 5 years. No, 6 years. Most of it was in the last, the 2 years previous.
And
How
you
many
know,
people lived out there then? Would you say what your population was?
It's in Sanders' hands,
shattered.
but I can't remember. It I would assume it's about half of what it is now. It was a very sparsely populated area.
And yet you had drive-by shootings.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. A
When
lot
you
of
say
Yeah,
people-
and everybody that died, the
Out in the
FBI
weeds.
said each and every one of them got drunk, fell down in the snow and died of exposure.
Sandra was killed by a federal agent,
Yeah,
a BIA special investigator. He served 7 years. Her murder was brutal. I won't go into it.
it was awful. Her death was a mercy. Her death was a mercy. 7
When-
years that man did,
Yeah.
and
That's
Leonard
awesome.
still sits in a cage.
Exactly.
When you say
What was-
goon squad, are you talking about like armed white settler
Dick
locals?
Wilson, the tribal council
The native
president,
people.
and
The guardians of the Oglala Nation.
yeah, the
And-
feds gave them a whole lot of money to arm them and terrorize American Indian movement members and people on the reservation because they wanted the uranium mining rights.
Bingo.
That doesn't
Yeah,
surprise me at
that's
all. I was
exactly
just
it.
curious about who exactly they armed, like the identity of those folks. That was where I wasn't sure. I appreciate the clarification.
Yeah, they named
They worked
themselves.
for Dickie Wilson.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
May
there
I
were,
ask, whatever
there were
happened to Dickie
children
Wilson?
that they were shooting into people's houses and killing kids.
Yep.
He died a few years after that.
Mhm.
I mean, his family, are they still there?
Yeah, they are.
Okay.
It's all in the,
Leonard's family is from Turtle Mountain. What have you got, Robert? Oh, Incident of Oglala, great. I just got Kevin McKiernan's DVD. He was inside Wounded Knee during the occupation.
Church.
The baby that was born on Wounded Knee, Pedro, he adopted me into his tribe. We lost him about a month ago, and Kevin filmed him about an hour after he was born. So I'm gonna try to get that footage tonight and get it to his family. They're having his funeral
Wait.
on Pine Ridge right now.
Yeah.
Anybody have anything else they want to add, or any questions for anybody that was there?
Yeah, I missed, unfortunately, I don't want her to go back through it. I wouldn't ask her to do that. I checked in late, unfortunately. What's new? But Jean, you were 14 years old and you were there, right?
Yeah. I was
And they
one of, like,
handcuffed Eugene and your brother?
Jean,
They handcuffed
que-
you? Did I
my
get
question
that
to
part
Jean
right?
is,
And her 11-year-old brother.
yeah.
right. Jean,
That
my
is hard to
question,
fathom. It is just hard to fathom.
If you
And
know
it's
the
hard to
truth.
fathom that everybody in the world is not talking about this.
I think Jojo
Jean?
has a question for Jean.
Jean, are you there, sweetie?
Yeah.
Okay, here's my
can't-
question to Jean. Jean, how
Yeah.
long, maybe you said it and I missed it, sweetie. How long you were there for the shootout, the firefight,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it. How long did it really take to escalate into like a crossfire where there was bullets coming to and fro?
Well,
You know, a few minutes and a half hour? Was it quickly?
It's awful hard to-
okay, this is what happened. It started probably about 11:30 in the morning, and it went on, and we were trying to find a way out, walking the other direction with some other people. And by the time we got to the end where it was already surrounded, like, so we went back towards the jumping bulls, and that's when we ran to Leonard and them into the forest, because just me and my little brother and a couple of other women were walking out. But the bottom line is most
Uh-huh.
of the people that were at the shootout were juveniles. They were teenagers, most of us, except for Leonard, Bob and Dino, and I think Neelock. They were the older adults, over 21. Most of us were under the age. So
Was
the
it
ones
just
that they did charge were the men that were there, but they didn't want to admit that, you know, most of the guys that ran were the teenagers, the ones that we ran out. Except
May
for
I
those
ask-
3 guys.
Why, may I ask, Jean, how did that happen? I mean, why were there mainly teenagers? Was it just because you had more kids than adults there? Or was it like some kind of activity for teens, or you know what I mean? How did that?
No. Kind of what happened was after a conference we went into in Farmington, we all came back this way. And some of the guys that came up from the Navajo tribe were going to the Sundance, so they caught rides with us and they were in our camp.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we had a camp. We had a camp down below, probably about a half a mile from where the grandma and grandpa's place was.
So
So
you're all
and-
ruthless killers.
Right. And
Yeah.
so you were there, there was a Sundance happening. So you have people from out of town, your age. They're all on
Well,
their
they
way
were
to the Sundance.
going, yeah, they were going. That was like maybe a month
Yeah.
after.
And what, they were just staying with you overnight or something on the way up or down to the Sundance?
They were there for a few days and they were helping out because every day we helped the community and different things, you know, sometimes we had to do security, cooking, just helping, you know.
Interesting. You know what? That fact has never been brought to light. I think that it was predominantly youth, teenagers.
Yeah. And
Wow.
plus we just completed like a garden. We put a big garden in there for the grandma and the grandpa.
Yeah, that's
And-
what I got out of this chapter also, was the spirituality of the whole thing. It was a spiritual camp meant to empower people. When they discovered gold in the Black Hills, they said that they were not going to leave it at the hands of thriftless savages. And when they discovered uranium, AIM was there telling people, we are not thriftless savages. And the FBI did not like that. So what it sounds like to me is they armed the goon squad and they wanted people to keep their heads down and hide in their houses and sign the mining rights away. But
Basically, what happened is that, the tribal council, well, they're kind of the same now, but they're paid employees. So you have a whole nother IRA, which is the IRA government.
Indian
that's put in there.
Organization
They're
Act.
just like
I
hired.
understand. Yeah. Indian
and they're not
Organization Act
paid.
is what, go ahead. I'm interrupting you. I apologize. Go ahead.
You sure?
Yeah. It's rude to interrupt.
Okay, so the goon squad are the hangar on the fort of 1975, basically.
Yep.
Okay, and so since Dick Wilson didn't want to have anything to do with anybody, any kind of religion or natural religions or spirituality in American Indian movement,
Traditional.
yeah, they more or less said it was okay, not really, but started practicing the religion. And I think a lot of people took that as, it was a really good effort, but then, Dick Wilson didn't have none of that. So his goon squad, were
Yeah.
kind of like was hired people that just hate it, that's basically who they were.
You go after the traditionals.
Non-traditional. They want to be progressive as the word they use. So that meant
Yeah, I meant the goon squad to go after the
colonized
traditionals.
Indian. They wanted to be the colonized Indian, okay? But this attack didn't just start at Wounded Knee, or it started way back, when first contact. They've been using the same tactics against us,
yeah,
just stereotype us into a
Over
less
and over
than
again.
image. They think their gift to us, they're gonna help us save ourselves, But we all know that's not true.
Oh,
we are so
Oh.
divorced from this earth, Jane. I
But-
mean, colonization, our ocean has more plastic than fish.
Yeah, that's
They
totally
are,
out. Yeah.
they are still getting away with illegal mining on Pine Ridge. Did you know that? To this day.
Oh yeah, we just went to a meeting about it.
Yeah,
And the Black Hills
that's
is
what's
being
giving them
attacked.
cancer.
the Black Hills are what?
Is being attacked too. They have a lot of mining permits. They're just not coming up for like a fracking style for gold,
Yep.
They just did the G4. I think it's G4.
How
It's
can they
really a
get away
big
with that?
area. Well, they're just doing it. And
You know who I know, you guys? It's kind of interesting. You brought up fracking. I know one of the, he owns one of the biggest corporations in America. And he's a really actually a nice guy. His name's, I don't want to
Well,
get it mixed up with the other guy, but it's like Bassett. But he's a white guy.
What?
And he is one of the guys, his company, who engineered in its infantile stage fracking. And he was fascinated. I know him as a friend in Alexandria. But he was fascinated when I told him that they do it so much on reservations. He wasn't surprised, but he was kind of fascinated that it always ends up on a reservation.
Yeah.
well,
But anyway,
Enbridge is the same way.
Well, if you think about a colonial model, it's the same thing. It's just that you guys are within the national boundary as opposed to outside of it. It's always that we want to take, we being the United States, I suppose, always want to take that natural resource from outside for free and
Mhm.
make use of it. It feels like the same thing happening here.
Yeah.
Okay.
What was the latest offer on the Black Hills? They keep trying to give the Dakota money for the Black Hills. Wasn't it like a
Billions
billion
by now
point
with
four?
interest.
6 billion.
6 billion.
Yeah.
oh, I thought it was
Nothing.
more.
And it's
Point
like
something.
you don't trade sacred land for dollars. They don't
No.
get that.
So the US government put that 6 point whatever billion in a trust. that nobody's, it's, you can't buy spirituality. You can't buy the creator's, supper, you can't buy Pichuta.
No, when people want to pray on their sacred land, they have to pay and fill out paperwork.
Oh, wow.
Well, it's the
Yeah.
same way to get an eagle feather. You got to fill out the paperwork first.
Well, you need a new governor in South Dakota, first of all, get rid of Christy. No,
Jean, I think
Yeah.
you're muted.
she's a real piece of work.
Who's muted,
Yeah, I
Kim?
don't think you need a paper for a feather. I mean, I don't know where that came from, but that's not true.
I know in Texas, Jean, you do have to register it. You're supposed to
A
register
feather?
it.
No,
Yeah.
that's not
Yes,
true.
you have to have, you can get arrested in North Carolina for it. I know
You
that.
have to show, I don't know how much they enforce it, but you have to show that you have your CDIB or your enrollment. in
Well,
order
yeah,
to-
you have to be native to have it. Yeah, definitely.
You have to be
Yeah.
federally recognized, not just
Yeah.
state. You have to be federally.
Oh, yeah, okay. I wasn't sure. if it was-
Rolina is here, one of our elders. What do you have to say,
Hi,
Rolina?
Rolina. Welcome.
Hi. I was just trying to hear so good because of the traffic. I'm sitting outside and I apologize. Okay, during that time I wasn't present in the state, but aware of everything, very much aware.
Yeah,
It was very hard times, very to travel to be there, to everything. It was just hard. It was just a different time.
It's a foreign occupation.
Are you a resident of Pine Ridge? I didn't catch your name, ma'am.
I'm Merlina Redner. No, I'm from the Pacific Northwest, and when I went with the Trail of Broken Treaties and to Wounded Knee, we went as a group coming out of Frank's Landing and then Seattle Indian Center and different Indian centers around. We recruited people to make a group of people from the Northwest to go as a group.
she snuck
My-
into
that's
Wounded
where
Knee. Her
I was
mom
on the
told her
trail
no,
of,
and she went anyway.
Yeah,
I was on the Trail of Broken Treaties also.
were you?
Yes, I was 8 years old. I was in the
Ah.
occupation of the BIA.
I think I was 15 or so. And
I'm almost done with your portrait, Rolina.
oh my heavens, I didn't even get to pick out the picture we sent you, and I didn't know which one to send.
You're
But
wearing a
that's
conical
wonderful.
hat.
Thank you.
Hey, Rolina,
Yeah.
did you make it all the way to the BIA? Were you there for those 7 days?
Oh yes, absolutely.
Do you remember, you know what my most vivid memory is? Being in that building. Remember when they cut
Yeah.
off the electricity and there was water everywhere because the Indian guys, and I do say Indian, we took out the pipes out of the wall to use as weapons. And nobody, thought, oh, they might have water in them.
Water off.
We had
That's
water all
something
over
I
the
would
place.
do, Jojo.
We had my sneakers. You know what? I would love to go to the archives. Okay, this is a footnote, but it's kind of cute. At the end, when they did their demands, I would love to go in the archives and see if they wrote it out, because Dennis made sure I got a new pair of sneakers. I started crying because my feet were wet, my shoes were ruined, and they found some old pair of shoes and I wouldn't put them on because I said no, I'll get. I was 8, but I knew I caught rashes. I still do. And I wouldn't put anybody else's shoes on, but I put somebody's socks on. And he says, and he had somebody go get a ruler because he says, what size shoe do you wear? And I couldn't remember. It was the only time he really spoke to me during the whole occupation. But he said, what size shoe do you wear, Jojo? And I said, I can't remember. Actually, I wore a 13, a girl's 13, but I couldn't remember. I was nervous. So he says, go get a ruler. And he measured my feet. And he said, we want a girl's pair of sneakers, approximately 8 inches long.
Oh, awesome.
That's what I got from the
something he
BIA.
wants to say.
That's a cool story, Jojo. Hey, OSHA is here. He's not showing on the camera, but he'd like to say something also. Go ahead, OSHA. Oh, there he is. Hi, OSHA. Welcome.
Man, I had this thing unmuted. Hey, I'm Oja, everybody that doesn't know me. And
Hey, Oja.
I want to speak about a little bit. I'm listening to like, this history and stuff like that. And for me, it's a little different because I've always studied it from the outside, right? And just a few years ago, I started really getting involved in native communities. I'm from Michigan, so Wisconsin, Minnesota, and all through there, right? And one thing that I've noticed is a lot of these stories that you guys are telling are very similar to some of the shit that I've seen in tribal communities, right? Except for the fight's a little bit more different. Instead of just specifically taking our rights from us, now they got our kids hooked on drugs and stuff. And now our youngsters are out there gangbanging. They took our cultures from us. Like, it's hard to get an elder to open up and teach us our language, teachings, and like that from our different areas. You know what I mean? So, you guys will probably hear me or see me one day. I'm sure of it. But, I hope that you guys think about that. You know what I mean? When you guys are, I don't know if anybody's still into activism or if you talk to the youth still or anything like that, but the youth is in desperate need for our elders to stand up and speak up and like, hey, man, it's time to get your shit together. Like,
We need that.
Good point, Oja.
We need that.
Oja's my adopted nephew. He's gonna be something one day. I know he is in the movement.
Robert,
Oja
what would you
brings up
have
an
to say to
excellent
that?
point.
What's
Robert
that?
runs a radio show out of Minnesota.
Nice.
Hey, Oja,
Hey, what's going on?
there's Sam White, AKA Galaxy A10E.
Go ahead, Robert.
Phone cellular.
Go ahead, Robert.
I had JoJo on the show tonight. She did awesome. And then I'll have
Great.
her on. I'm gonna have her on next Tuesday too, for a longer time. People really liked it. So
I'm not gonna interrupt anybody.
No, I watched it,
What do
Robert.
you,
and it was
what do you think
phenomenal.
about Oja? What he said about people losing their culture and people stepping up and trying to bring it back?
well,
Gotta do it.
I'm in the Twin Cities here, and I see a lot of good things happening.
Do you?
Yeah, I mean, there's languages being taught in schools. There's school powwows. There's a lot of. I'm really impressed with the youngins.
Yep.
They're really leading the.
Hey.
They're leading the way in a lot of ways that we didn't. At least my generation didn't. So I see it a lot different.
Can I bring up one point here that's important? How do we get the youth in behind Leonard the way we used to be? I used to feel like I didn't know Leonard, but I didn't know him personally.
He was
But
a
I knew who
household
Leonard
name.
was.
He's
I didn't
not
even
any
know his last
longer.
name.
Well,
How do we
Was
get them behind it?
true.
I think
Exactly.
I see things like you speak to them like you have on TikTok. I see a lot of good Leonard stuff on TikTok, native TikTok. There's a lot of you meet them where they're at. You don't drag them where you think they should be. You meet them where they're at. And
That's
right now
right.
they're at
That's
TikTok.
right.
Yeah, he's right.
I've
So-
got to get back on TikTok. Thanks for the nudge,
Hey,
Robert.
That's
Listen,
mainly
Robert,
why
did
I.
you meet Colin, Virginia Berg? They were teaching on Pine Ridge during the shootout.
Yeah, I'm unmuted.
And you get the word out because I think people don't know because it was really a hard push to get Leonard out in the early 90s during Clinton's administration. We all thought he was going to get out then.
Yeah.
And so it's ebb and flow. And right now it's the ninth inning. It's the 10th frame to get him out. And he would help bring people together too and celebrate with the young ones. The young ones are finding out. I'm impressed with them.
Yeah.
Kimberly and I do a lot. That's how we met. Kimberly and I
Yes.
met on TikTok doing Leonard videos.
There
But
you go.
I can't seem to reach a younger audience. I don't know why.
How do
Jojo,
you
would
know
you
that?
tutor me in TikTok?
Jojo, I think that it would be great. You have fantastic videos on TikTok.
And
And I think that it would be great if next time you're on Robert's show, which tonight was phenomenal. I loved it and I enjoyed
Thank
every
you.
minute of it. If you just do a shout out with your Lumbee Jojo on TikTok, because I think
I didn't even think about that, but I'm going to. Thank you, Kimberly. That's a good
your videos
idea.
really show a lot. They tell a story, and
Well,
I
and
think
what's
it's really
really-
important.
What's really cool too, JoJo, because we really rushed into having you on. I wanted to get you on, but I think we'll have you on next Tuesday, and I can download some of your good TikToks too and play them during your interview.
Yeah, they're short. They're not,
That's
we
what's
won't
great
show
about
any that are,
TikTok.
I started out at 3 minutes. Well, they all start out at 1, and then they
Right.
graduate you to 3. That's a mistake I learned, because 3 minutes, nobody wants to sit there.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I went back
Keep
to
them
1
at a
minute.
minute.
Yep.
Just like the
Keep
old
'em at a
3
minute.
second,
minute.
45
It's
records.
like
Jojo, would
Twitter.
you tutor me on TikTok?
Keep them at a
Absolutely,
minute.
sweetie.
Okay.
Keep them at a minute so people can duet them.
Short
Yes.
attention spans.
Yeah.
That's
Zoom
a good
user
point.
wanted to say something.
You can't go longer than a minute if you want to get them do.
Exactly.
Good point.
Zoom user. Where
That's
are
it.
you? You
Where'd
still
he go?
here?
OSHA.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
I don't see where he went though. Did you let him back in? Maybe he might have got. Okay,
Anybody
yeah.
else have anything
Oh,
they want
no.
to add?
Hey, Maya, let OSHA know he's not showing up here, but he's welcome to say something else. He's saying in the comments.
Yeah, we
Well-
need some young people.
Yeah, definitely. That's the main reason I went on TikTok. Not I had never even really been on social media, but I told this story before that I said Free Leonard and my daughter said who, and
Yep.
I really like it made my heart sink. And I felt, I mean, I'm 52 and I felt like I'd let him down somehow. And so I went on TikTok to try and reconnect with the youth, but
Yeah.
Hey Kim.
okay, there, OSHA, hi.
Hey, I'm on Maya's phone right now.
Okay, go ahead. You have the
Hey,
floor.
but listen, I wanted to say something about that TikTok, man. That fella that just said that about that TikTok, right? First of all, congratulations on your community, man. That's awesome. You know what I mean? I love to hear things like that. There's a community in Wisconsin, Kashina, that's becoming autonomous with language. They even have their own high school and stuff like that. But let me just say something about TikTok before I jump off here, because I gotta do something real quick. Listen, there's a reason that we always held our teachings kind of close to us, right? And one of those reasons was because when people get a hold of our teachings and stuff, they take it and they twist it up, right? Now, me, I'm like super traditional, right? But I have a lot of knowledge from my grandfather, my uncles and stuff like that. And so our teachings have medicine in them. And when these people take our teachings and they start perverting them and started applying them for likes and views and that 3 minute instant gratification, right? Then that becomes a problem. And now you're taking a movement that meant something and you're perverting it and turning it into something that no longer has any validity, because it's no longer about the movement of freeing Leonard Peltier, creating equality or justice in tribal communities and stuff like that, right? It becomes more about like, how can I get my ego fed? What can I do to make myself look good and shit, like stuff like that, right? So I would discourage that, actually. You know what I mean? We want, as Native people, we want people that are gonna continue this legacy as being Native, as our cultures and stuff like that. That's why that face-to-face interaction is so necessary. You know what I'm saying? You get there and you teach these kids, this is what it means to sit with your tobacco and pray and stuff like that. These are your stories and all this other stuff, right? You put that out there on TikTok, man, and it just turns into a hot mess. Miigwech, you guys have a good day.
Later, OSHA.
Yeah, well, I was speaking about Leonard Peltier. I wasn't talking about teachings or anything sacred.
Right.
You know.
I want to start
Yeah.
putting his artwork out on TikTok.
So
We need
I
to
think
sell more of it.
he was talking about the social media in general, definitely not about advocating for Leonard Peltier.
Yeah.
But
No,
if
I'm not
anybody has
talking
any
about that. Let me
ideas
say-
how we
that's
can
what I'm saying.
advocate,
Listen,
and
the
Jean,
fight
if you're
for-
there, maybe you can share with us some more for advocating,
The
because
fight for Leonard Peltier's freedom, let me just say this, the fight for Leonard Peltier's freedom is the same exact thing that we fight for, right? Inequality, just inequality, so that we can get some recognition for our women, for instance, right? So that we can get running water to tribes, so that we can get the death rate up on some of these different tribes. That fight is one and the same. This isn't just about fighting for Leonard Peltier's freedom. Like, yeah, nobody wants that innocent man locked up, right? I've looked up to them people since I was a kid, right? But the fact of the matter is, you can't separate. There's no space to separate one indigenous issue from another indigenous issue, because we only make up 0.9% of the United States population. Every fight is our fight.
That's
You
right.
guys make up a bigger percentage
100%.
of that now.
I love to
You
hear
make
that
up more than
passion,
that.
OSHA.
At the
Paul
last
and
census,
Virginia,
you
do you
guys
have anything
increased
you
your
want to
population
add?
significantly.
What was that?
I don't know.
Dean,
So if I
Yeah, I
could
was
real
gonna add
quick.
something
Oh, I'm
to what
sorry.
he was saying is that he's right. Peltier is not a separate issue. It's a continued issue of political prisoners that started way back.
Yep.
The Sitting Bull, Crazy Horse, whoever.
Yeah.
And he's no different, even though, you know, they manipulated it and he's been in there so long. But we have to remember he's still a political prisoner.
Yeah.
And he
That's
represents
true.
a movement that started not with AIM, but with surviving and decolonizing from the colonized part.
And
Yep.
and if I could, I think the
Well
core
said.
of the thought, if I could real quick, the core of the thought is this: while social media platforms like TikTok and Instagram and Facebook are essential to spread awareness on specific Indigenous issues that need to be understood and need to be, people need to be exposed to, real change is going to be affected through grassroots personal involvement. When you're on social
That's
media
right.
platforms, I think there's an
Yep.
internal aspect of popularity contest that comes into play, and that becomes more important than the issues that we're trying to
Yep.
bring awareness to. That's all.
Yep. Yep,
I agree
you're
with
right.
everything said, but I got to meet the kids where they're at, and I got to bring them to us. I can't.
Yep.
I'll see them at powwows and things like that, but I got to bring them to the truth. And
You're right.
it might not
Yep.
happen overnight. It might be a seed planted that they do want to come to ceremony. They do
Yep.
want to.
Yeah,
They do want to learn things. It's all about meeting people where they're at, not.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
agree completely.
That's 100%.
When Kim was
That's
doing TikToks
100%.
with Leonard's artwork, there were a lot of people buying artwork and a lot of people asking who Leonard was. Paul and Virginia, do you have anything you want to add to all this?
Well, other than there's a big push to get Leonard out right now. I know it's really building and
Yeah,
people do have some
Got
faith that Biden is a good man and will listen. And I know we're working this weekend on a letter to President Biden on
Thank
Leonard's
you.
behalf.
What we
Excellent.
really need right now is we need people to organize tribal nations and even other big organizations that will support
Russ means.
their own constitution. I mean, if they don't believe in their own stuff, I mean, it's just like
No, they
crazy
don't. They don't.
how they can twist it. But we need a lot of tribal nations, either support letters, individuals, to send a copy to Judge Sharp. And we're collecting them there. We have a lot of tribes now. We're working on Oklahoma. We don't have any. We need some tribal support there. We're working on Dene Nation, the Pueblos, and we're going to be addressing more the tribes from Oregon and going down Washington State, Oregon, and California. And there's so many tribes there that can be supportive. And that's where Leonard started. So we're going to be doing a meeting up with the relatives is what we're calling it. And members of the committee and the family are going to try to meet up with different tribes in the next couple months. So if you have any connections, that would really help out a lot.
Are you working with anybody that's doing the longest walk?
Yeah,
Carla Banks.
we are working with the American Indian Movement, the Grand Governing Council. We're working with
Okay.
everybody because we don't, our lines don't stop there. We want.
Yeah. They're
We need,
leaving
more
from Tatonka
congressional-
Banks's
Yeah.
house, and
Are
I'm
you-
trying really hard to raise the money to get that house secured so it can go without everything getting stolen.
Are
Yeah,
you
we have
working
like
with-
over 150 members of Congress, senators, state, and the ones that go to DC. I don't know what the difference
Cool.
in that is, but yeah,
Cool.
we need more.
Stop.
Are you working with
Come on.
Lisa and Frank?
Lisa and Frank. Oh, Drever?
No, Lisa Bellinger.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're
And
part of
Frank
the
Barrows.
Grand Council.
Yep.
And they're going to be doing that walk with Rachel Thunder in the fall. Yeah,
Yep.
we're all connecting, but whatever state you're from, if you could actually
Well, I'm from
contact
Minnesota.
your representatives.
I'm from Minnesota.
Yeah, we need
So I know
support
all those
there.
guys.
I've written my congressman 5 times. I keep getting form letters back saying, my most important job is listening to you.
Yeah.
I
Not
tell them,
doing
if that's
anything.
your most important job, hear me. I get another form letter back.
Also, Gavrila from Amnesty International, she had wanted us maybe to meet maybe bi-weekly, and maybe we can also kind of meet up and talk about ways that we could support Leonard. So I'll go ahead and start a group on Facebook, and if you guys could all join it, maybe we can just kind of brainstorm and get some input from the Defense Committee on what we should be doing and what we should be, you know, we can kind of have a
Do you
common
want to do it
goal.
on Facebook, Kim, or do you want to do it on Zoom on the nights we don't do book club?
Okay, yeah, that's a great idea. We'll just the same link maybe I'll start a Facebook group though, just so we can kind of touch bases there.
Just let me know.
Yeah, and maybe just getting the input from the Defense Committee so we know what direction we should be pointing. Now we know, like, it was kind of cool to get some input and what we should
Yeah.
be aiming for. Okay, I'm tongue-tied tonight.
Anybody else want to add anything?
One thing. Excuse me, go ahead.
Well, I was just referring to the chapter, and we were talking about the spirituality of what we perceive as the spirit in the person. And people always say there's always spirits that help you out when you're in trouble. And in this chapter, it talks about Norman Brown when he had Leonard Peltier and all the women and children, and they were trying to get through the woods and trying to get away from the government officials that were after him. And he followed the eagle that was in the sky. And every time they were in trouble, the eagle would appear to Norman Brown and he would direct the group in that direction. And they were all safe. And just like they were running up the hill and they were shooting at them, and there was no cover for them at all. They were just running up the hill trying to get to the other side. And Leonard and all of them did not get hit at all with any bullets. So it makes you wonder, you know, did the spirit of the eagle protect them going up that hill and guide them to get them out, to get them to the older gentleman that let them stay there? He gave them all their food, everything he had to get them, told them how to get to Pine Ridge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully that eagle registered itself with the government.
Hey, Jean, did you see the eagle that they were referring to in the book that led the did you see the eagle?
It was a hawk.
Oh, a hawk.
Well, no, that's what we seen that day.
That's what you remember?
Yeah.
A hawk's creator's messenger.
Well, Jean, thank you for coming, and also thank Jojo and everyone else, and Robert and Paul and Virginia. It was such a pleasure to have you all here, and we welcome you back.
Yeah, this has been a wonderful group. Do we want to talk about what book we're going to do next?
Oh yeah, I'm thinking let's all take a raise of vote of hands. Will we be discussing I Will, Sandra's Hands, or Prison Writings?
Sandra's Hands.
Okay, Sandra's Hands. Okay. Okay, and Leonard highly recommends that book. So we'll be reading after we finish this. It's a pretty long book, so we still have a lot more to discuss. Would anyone object to maybe doing 2 chapters this next time, as opposed to 1
not me.
chapter?
Would anyone
That'd be good.
what?
We're staying.
Would you guys like? We've been currently
We're staying.
discussing 1 chapter at a time. Would anyone be opposed to doing 2 chapters, maybe?
No, we could do that.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay, because the 2 weeks is kind of a long time, so we have the time. So next meeting will be chapters 8 and 9 of In the Spirit of Crazy Horse, and I look forward to having you all here. And thanks again for everybody who came. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Kimberly.
Thank you.
I deeply
Thank you, Kimberly.
appreciate each
Thank
and
you,
every
guys.
one of you. And
Thank you,
Kimberly,
Jean.
for making
Me
this
too. It
happen.
was really nice.
Okay, it was awesome. So
John,
Love
thank
you,
you all.
Mr. and
also,
Mrs.
John.
Berg. Thanks,
Yes,
Robert.
thanks.
Thanks,
Thank
Jean.
you.
Thanks, Jojo.
Okay,
Bye-bye,
you're welcome.
y'all.
Good
Nice
night.
meeting you, Margaret.
Good night.
You
Thanks,
too.
Elena. Bye, Michelle. Bye, Catherine.
Bye-bye.
Bye, John.
Bye-bye.
Love you.
Uh.